I want to start with what we just did because I know that you're still fired up about it. We just had the mayor of Chicago, where crime is out of control. If you only have 30 shootings over a weekend in Chicago, people are heralding that as some sort of a win. It's not. You've got 5 to 10 to 15 people a weekend die. It's mostly people in lower income neighborhoods. It's mostly black people who are dying, and black people in Chicago are done, and they're tired of it. But just the other day, this guy, Brandon Johnson, where the rules are you can't run after a suspect. You have to fast walk. You have to stop pursuing somebody if the rapist gets away and call in a psychologist. This guy the other day, just a couple of days ago, and I don't know anywhere near as much about this case as you do, was heralding the memory, memorializing this woman, called herself Shakkur, who ran to Cuba, an alleged, actually a convicted cop killer. He was calling her a leader of the Black Liberation Movement who always maintained her innocence. I know that we just did this off camera. If you don't mind, on camera, for those watching and listening, can you explain what this woman did, what she was convicted of, and why this guy would ever back her up?
Sure. First of all, Mayor Brendan Johnson is a dope. He's incompetent. He's in over his head. The city of Chicago is circling the drain. It was already circling the drain under the previous mayor, but he's taken it even further and even faster. Look, this is shameful that he would hold Joanne Chesimard up as some sort of icon or idol in the fight for black equality and black freedom. Let me tell you the story real quickly here. Joanne Chesimard in 1973 was pulled over by a New Jersey state trooper on the turnpike, and when the troopers got out of their car, there were 3 people in the suspect car. They opened fire on the 2 troopers. They both fell to the ground. Joanne Chesimard got out of the back seat, ran up to Werner Forrester, who was the father of a 3-year-old at the time, pulled his gun out of his holster, and shot him point blank in the head, for heaven's sake. She was convicted of this murder of this trooper. She was sentenced to life in prison, along with her accomplices. After 6 years in prison, there was a brazen prison break. Actually, the prison was breached. They took a couple of corrections guard hostage, and they freed Joanne Chesimard, who fled to Cuba in 1979, and she was granted asylum by Fidel Castro, for heaven's sake. She changed her name to Assata Shakur. So she's never served the life sentence that she's on the FBI 10 most wanted list to this day. And now it's been reported by the Cuban government and by Chesimard's daughter that she died. She's 78 years old. I'm not buying it. What I would do if I were the State Department is if they try to ship her body back, they should seize the body. She's still on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. They should have an American medical examiner do a forensics test to make sure it's actually her that's in that coffin. And then what I would do is I would take that coffin and ceremoniously put it in a prison cell, the one that she broke out of, so that the Forrester family can get some sort of closure. I wouldn't put it past the Cuban government and her family to try to slip her in, say she died, put somebody else in the coffin, and then slip her back into the United States so she could live anonymously with her family. This was one of the most heinous law enforcement killings there is, and it was one of her accomplices. I know she's maintaining her innocence. She maintained her, and she's dead now, or supposedly.
Right.
No, one of the accomplices is the one that testified at a trial as to what she did.
Well, a couple of questions pop out. Wow, that's incredible information that I didn't know about the case. I knew of her. I knew of what she was guilty of or found guilty of. But when Brandon Johnson says she maintained her innocence till her death and she was a leader of black liberation, I'm not sure how it liberates black people by killing a cop in cold blood on the side of the road. But the question that I had earlier, that off camera, was she maintained her innocence. Is there any chance it wasn't her? Do we have her dead to rights that she did this?
Dead to rights, like I said, or an accomplice in the vehicle, who also got life imprisonment, by the way. He's the one that gave the full story as to what happened on that night that the traffic stop was made. So, no, she's dead to rights. She's a liar. She's a killer. She's a stone-cold cop killer.
And I didn't even consider, why would we trust Cuba? Why would we? Why would we just say, okay, you say that she's dead, she must be dead? I think what you say is appropriate. Do we have the ability, does the State Department have the ability to say, hey, this is somebody who was a fugitive from justice. This is somebody that ran to a foreign country where we didn't have any sort of an extradition deal done. Let's make sure it's her. I mean, you really think there's a chance it's not?
Yeah, I don't trust these people as far as I can throw them. Look, um, the fact that it's been reported that she died means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Now, the Cuban government wouldn't send her body back, but the family may request it. The family's the one that would seek to bring the body back. But that's why I would have the State Department keep an eye on this case to watch if that body comes back, because she's still on the FBI's 10 most wanted list until she's confirmed dead in the United States, not Cuba.
Wow. That's a very good point. It's Sheriff David Clarke. Go to americassheriff.com. Americassheriff.com. Get his book. It's called Cop Under Fire. So let me ask you about Chicago specifically. I can relate it to Washington, D.C., where you've got a large black community, a large black neighborhood in Washington. The black folks there were done with crime. They're the ones that are touting the praises of the National Guard, the federalizing of police, and of President Trump. They are happy they can walk to Union Station. They can go to the local park now. They are safe now. And again, it was exponentially more black on black crime in that area than other crime, although everybody was sort of a victim of carjackings and muggings and rapes and everything else. Because the crime is so low, I really think that everybody in the community, left or right, will vote to continue having a police force show some force in neighborhoods and be good neighbors and keep people safe and peaceful. Chicago doesn't have this benefit because in Washington, of course, Congress and the executive do have some purview. In Chicago, they don't. And Pritzker is literally saying, the governor of Illinois, don't send them here. It would be the Gestapo. And then, of course, you've got the idiot, the dope, as you said, Brandon Johnson, who doesn't want to keep people safe in Chicago, black, white, or indifferent. So what do you do in a case like that? You can do it in D.C., and it's been unbelievably successful. I think carjackings are down 87%. Murder is down 50% since the federalization. But you can't necessarily do it in Chicago. So what do you do to keep people safe there?
Yeah, because of federalism, crime is a state issue. They have a vested interest in keeping it under control, and so the founding fathers wanted it that way. They didn't want a national police force, so to speak.
Right.
So hands are tied a little bit. There's probably some things that the president can do in terms of withholding law enforcement funds, federal funds that go into every city in the United States to help with the public safety. He can withhold funds. He can do some arm twisting here, and I guess that's where I would start. But look, the Democrats, Pritzker, the governor, Johnson, the mayor, they're pro-criminal, all right? They support crime. They support the criminals. Joe, the interesting thing is they don't have to live with it. Johnson walks around with an entourage of armed Chicago police officers for security. He doesn't live in these neighborhoods. Pritzker, he doesn't live in these neighborhoods. He also, as the governor, and rightfully so, he as the governor has an armed security staff. So it's kind of that safety for me, but not for thee attitude that the Democrats have. And so these cities, you're right, the black residents, they've had it with this crap, Joe, but they don't have the power really. And I'm talking about in terms of politically. You could say, well, yeah, they voted for these individuals. Well, those were the people that were put before the voters. The party controls it and says, here, you're going to vote for Brandon Johnson. He ran against a Republican. Johnson, he ran against a Republican who ran on law and order, and Johnson won. So in one aspect,
Crazy.
on one hand, you could say the public of the residents of the city of Chicago, you got what they voted for. But on the other hand, they're powerless. It's a Democrat machine that puts the candidates forward. And if you're not a Democrat and good standing with the Democrat machine, you have no chance of winning elected office.
Sheriff David Clarke, there was a critical mass point in New York City in the early 90s. They did elect Rudy Giuliani. New York State did elect George Pataki because they were done. And they cleaned it up. And then stupidly, they went back to the left and started voting for idiots. You might get a socialist or a communist is going to be the mayor there soon if they don't do something to change it. Is Chicago getting close to that? Is LA getting close to that? Is Denver getting close to that? Are these big cities getting close to the point to where they're like, we just can't live here anymore. We're not safe. We should do something different. Or are we not there yet?
I don't think we're there yet. You used the correct phrase, a critical mass. I don't think you have it yet in Chicago, LA. I mean, look at it this way. Governor Newsom, he won election. He was recalled. And when he faced re-election off the recall, he got a higher percentage of votes than he did when he was originally elected.
That's crazy.
And yeah, it's a strange phenomena in these cities and in these blue states. But look, they're broken. So I don't think we're near that point in Chicago because they had a chance, about a year and a half ago, to elect a law and order mayor. That's what the guy ran on, for heaven's sakes. And he didn't even come close.
Sheriff David Clarke, America's Sheriff. Go to americassheriff.com, americassheriff.com. Get his book, Cop Under Fire.